Hello guys, and welcome to the dojo. Oh no! Another voice! Yes guys, it's me, Ton. And today we are going to recap all the matches that happened during the Overwatch League's preseason. Through the feedback we got from the survey that you guys filled out, it seems esports is something you want us to dive into. So I've taken the liberty, and got the green light from Alien, cha-ching, into making this highlight video. So what this means for you is that I will cover each day of the preseason differently, so you guys can tell us which kind of highlight reel you'd like to see more often. We are very eager to hear your feedback on this, so please respond at the end of the video. I'll explain each category later, but for now, sit back and relax because we are going to cover a lot of juicy games. Day 1 of the preseason started out with the Florida Mayhem facing off against the San Francisco Shock. It was an easy series for the Shock as they were able to defeat Mayhem 3-1. The second matchup was the Los Angeles Valiant against the San Francisco Shock. San Fran was back up to the stage, but Los Angeles had other plans and was able to take the Shock to a 5th game and win the series 3-2. The final match of the day was Seoul Dynasty versus the Shanghai Dragons. Seoul was able to slay the Dragons in a clean 4-0 sweep. Day 2 started off with the Los Angeles Gladiators fighting the London Spitfire. The Gladiators are able to win in Junkertown, but then fall to the Spitfire at Horizon Lunar Colony and Ilios. However, Los Angeles rallies and defeats London and Numbani to take it to a 5th game. At Lijiang, the Los Angeles Gladiators will defeat the London Spitfire 3-2. The next fight was Dallas Fuel in a shootout with the Houston Outlaws. Houston is quick to the draw and wins at Dorado. This loss gets Dallas fired up and they conquer Anubis and Oasis. But the Outlaws are not finished yet and tie up the series at Eichenwald, forcing a Game 5. Dallas Fuel burns through the Houston Outlaws at Lijiang to win the series 3-2. The final matchup for Day 2 was New York Excelsior and Boston Uprising. New York handily takes over Dorado and Anubis from Boston, but the Uprising beat Excelsior at Oasis to get a fighting chance. However, that will not be enough as the New York Excelsior finished the Boston Uprising at Eichenwald to win the series 3-1. Day 3 brought San Francisco Shock and London Spitfire as the first match. Shock took the attack first on Dorado and was able to make it just down the hill from the last point. Spitfire was able to make it through San Fran's defenses to win the first map, taking the lead in the series 1-0. At Anubis, London is on the defense and loses both points to Shock in overtime. Spitfire responds by skillfully taking both points from San Francisco and leaving time on the clock. On London's second attempt, they are able to get the first tick on point 1 to win the map, taking the series 2-0. The teams traveled to Oasis where Spitfire is able to shut out Shock and take the series to 3-0. The final map is at Eichenwald where San Fran is able to push the card deep into the castle, but London's resolve was strong, holding Shock to just 2 checkpoints. London Spitfire was able to once again beat San Francisco Shock and win the series 4-0. The second fight of the day was Seoul Dynasty fighting the Houston Outlaws. Seoul starts off on attack in Junkertown and were able to roll the payload all the way to the end. Houston does their best to make it to the end, but Dynasty stops them on the trail and took the lead in the series 1-0. Houston stands their ground at Horizon Lunar Colony and prevents Seoul from taking the second point. The Outlaws wrestled the first point away from Dynasty in overtime, and then, with renewed vigor, Houston takes the second point, tying the series 1-1. Seoul takes over Ilios, sweeping the map and taking the lead in the series 2-1. Numbani turns into a good old showdown. Both teams are able to push the payload to all 3 checkpoints, but the Outlaws have some time saved up from their run and get a chance to tie up the series. Unfortunately for Houston, Dynasty was ready for them, and prevented Houston from getting 1 tick on the point. Drawing the game, Seoul Dynasty wins the series over the Houston Outlaws 2-1. The final fight for Day 3 was the Shanghai Dragons against the Boston Uprising. The series began in Junkertown where Shanghai pushes the payload past the second checkpoint but failed to reach the third. Boston rises up and pushes the payload to all 3 points, gaining them the lead in the series 1-0. The Dragons swiftly retaliate by taking both points on Horizon Lunar Colony and fiercely defending the first point from Uprising, tying the series 1-1. At Ilios, Boston tried to fight back to gain the lead, but Shanghai beat them out, taking the lead 2-1. Uprising was not down for long. When the team set foot on Nimbani, Boston prevented the Dragons from getting one tick on the point. Boston went on to capture the point and tie up the series 2-2, forcing a Game 5. When the fires were put out at Lijiang, the Boston Uprising were seen walking away from the slain Shanghai Dragons, winning the series 3-2. Day 4 began with the Los Angeles Valiant fighting their in-town rival, the Los Angeles Gladiators. This was the matchup of two clutch powerhouse teams. With their big win over the San Francisco Shock, Valiant is ready to win another game to round out their preseason resume. The Gladiators come into the series with an upset win over the London Spitfire, and now they are ready to get some bragging rights over their in-town rivals. The series starts at Dorado with the Gladiators defending against the Valiant. The Gladiators put up a solid defense, but they were wiped by the Valiant, losing the first point in the final seconds. Soon flanks the Gladiators and pulse bombs Hydration to start the snowball that takes out the Gladiators, getting Valiant the second point. The Gladiators were able to regroup and make a solid defense, preventing Valiant from getting to the third point. On the Gladiators' push, they are prevented from even making it to the first point. The Valiant win the map, taking the lead 1-0. The teams travel to Anubis, where the Valiant started on attack, hungry for another win. Silk Thread is able to get a couple of kills to help his team win the first point, gaining momentum for the team. The Gladiators hold to the best of their abilities, but it is not enough, as the Valiant will take the second point with an aggressive push. The Gladiators get ready for battle, and after a long fight on the first point, they are once again denied capturing the point due to the Valiant's steadfast defense, increasing their lead in the series 2-0. The next location in the series was Oasis, where the Gladiators look to start their redemption at University. The Valiant fight fiercely, but the Gladiators are the ones who claim the point first. The team slipped the point back and forth, forcing a 99-99 overtime, where the Gladiators are able to wipe the Valiant and claim the first point of the map. Next, the teams travel to the Gardens, where Valiant looks to tie up the map. Valiant was able to handily claim the point first, pushing the Gladiators off the point, and the Gladiators then came in and flipped the point back into their favor to get themselves some nice percentage, but Valiant are not done yet and flip the point yet again, making another 99-99 overtime situation. However, the Gladiators are able to win the map thanks to Surefour and Asher's efforts, getting them a point on the board for the series 2-1. The next map in the series is Eichenwald, where the Gladiators look to tie up the series, taking it to a fifth game. Valiant is on the attack, looking to end the series with another win. The Gladiators hold the point well, but are overwhelmed by the dive effort of the Valiant, resulting in the capture of the payload. Pushing the cart in overtime, the Valiant are able to take out the Gladiators, gaining the first point. The Gladiators force another overtime push and are able to stop the Valiant this time, just inside the door of the castle. The Valiant set up for defense on the capture point. After a tactical dive led by Big Goose, the Gladiators are able to claim the capture point with ease. The Valiant makes some character changes and are able to take the wind out of the Gladiators' sails, preventing them from getting to the bridge. The Los Angeles Valiant win the series over the Los Angeles Gladiators 3-1. The second match was the Florida Mayhem against the Dallas Fuel. Mayhem is entering this series with a loss to Shock and looks to redeem themselves here. Fuel comes in with a shootout victory over their in-state rivals, Houston, and look to keep the flame burning hot. The series starts at Junkertown with Florida on attack, ready to roll the Dallas defense. Mayhem is able to spread the Fuel defense thin and reach the first point. Florida continues the smooth movement of the payload and easily take the second point on the trail. Dallas does their best to stall the payload, but they cannot stop the mayhem created by Florida and fail to prevent them from capping the third point. Dallas's push is skillfully shut down by Florida, preventing them from capturing the first point, and Mayhem takes the lead 1-0. At Horizon Lunar Colony, Dallas sets up their defense, but with a Tavik EMP, the point is quickly taken by Florida. The second point is not so easily gained, as Effect is able to hold off Mayhem from capturing the point. Fuel is able to dive onto the first point and wipe out Mayhem to claim it for themselves. Point 2 comes down to an intense battle where Seagull is able to get enough damage out to help his team secure the point, tying up the series 1-1. The teams go to Ilios, where they start off at Lighthouse. Dallas is able to capture the point first and prevents Florida from getting anything from the point. At Well, Mayhem is able to shut out Fuel from the point and take it first. Dallas is able to flip the point as Florida gets the percentage up to 99, but Mayhem does come back to flip the point in their favor to tie up the map. In the ruins, Fuel is able to capture the point first, but Mayhem is able to quickly flip it back into their possession. After a brutal team fight, Dallas is able to take back the point, but only for a bit as Florida comes back and takes the point over. The game of hot potato continues as Fuel takes the point back for the last time, winning the map, taking the lead in the series 2-1. In Numbani, Florida prepares to attack the defenses of Dallas to try and tie the series. Unfortunately, even with all of their mayhemic might, Florida was not able to break the Fuel defense, not even able to get a single tick. After several prolonged fights, Dallas is able to get the one tick they needed to win the series 3-1. The final match of the preseason was Seoul Dynasty fighting against the New York Excelsior. Seoul started their dynasty for the preseason with series wins over Shanghai and Houston. They look to continue their streak here in this match. New York comes in with a win over Boston and are ready to dethrone the dynasty. The match starts at Junkertown with New York out on defense, readying for whatever Seoul will throw at them. Dynasty surprises Excelsior with Ryu Hong's Mei, which helps Seoul capture the first point. Dynasty continues to roll through Excelsior to gain the second point. New York regroups and are able to hold Seoul from getting to the third point. On Excelsior's attack, they were successful to push all the way to the first point, and New York easily rolled along and claimed the second point. The battle for the third point was fierce, and Seoul was throwing everything they could, but failed to prevent New York from winning the map and taking the lead in the series 1-0. On Horizon Lunar Colony, Seoul is able to quickly cap both points before New York could even blink. On New York's attack phase, they conquer the first point with ease, but the second point doesn't come as easily, as Dynasty puts up an aggressive defense and is able to hold off the Excelsior to tie up the series 1-1. The third map of this series was Ilios, starting on Ruins. Seoul gets the first cap, and Fleta is able to keep New York off of the point to win the first round of Ilios. The second location is Well, and Excelsior skillfully caps the point first. After a hard team fight, Dynasty is able to flip the point to get some percentage up on the board. New York responds and flips the point back into their favor, and after fighting off Seoul in an overtime situation, Excelsior is able to tie the match. The final location is Lighthouse, and Dynasty takes over the point first. After a couple of intense team fights, New York gets the point to put up some numbers, but Seoul dives in and uses their ult cash to claim the final point, winning the match and pulling ahead in the series 2-1. The fourth map was Numbani, Dynasty starting on attack and New York on defense. Seoul quickly captures the cart and are able to speedily push the payload to the end. Fleta again is able to hold the point with an overtime attack visor and wins the final map for Seoul Dynasty 3-1. Phew, that was a lot of stuff to cover. The preseason did give us a good look at what the inaugural season will have to offer us. So let me define what the 4 types of highlights you just saw. Well, I guess before we do that, I'm sure you guys want to know what my credentials are. You people seem to like that stuff. Let's see. It's somewhere around here. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. There you go. So I got this thing. I got a degree here in digital media productions with a concentration in live and studio remote productions. A couple of university athletic pay stubs here, I guess. Shooting in track and field, golf, wrestling, basketball, cross country, soccer, or football, for those of you who don't live in America, American football, baseball, and softball. Oh, here. I also got another pay stub here for working for some sports production company, doing a couple of ESPN college football games. I got a lot more stuff here, but bottom line is I know sports, and I have worked in it for several years now. I can't play half of the games because of obvious reasons, and I can't play Overwatch, I can guarantee you that. But I can cover these things fairly well. Now that we got my credentials out of the way, let's go over the choice of the highlights that you saw. I can literally just tell you guys the score, like on day 1. That's pretty quick of a video for me to make, and those can go out like minutes afterwards. Day 2 gives you a bit more information about the maps and who wins there. They'll take a little bit longer to make, but they can still be done in less than an hour. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Day 3 gives you more detail and will take roughly an hour or 2 to make for each series, so I could probably get them done by the end of the day. It's a possibility. Obviously, day 4 has a lot more information, and it's kind of more of like a vague play-by-play type of video instead of, maybe highlights like in day 3. In this one, you would probably get a lot more information about what's going on, and hopefully when the stats thing comes around, you'll have more stats in it. Probably not, because I don't think the stats would help in the video making anyways. But the editing will probably take more from 4 to 5 hours per series. So if there's 3 series in a day, it's gonna take a while, and you won't get updates immediately that day. So there are your types of highlights. A survey is now available for you guys to fill out and tell us which one suits your needs better, or if we should do them at all. Please fill it out so we know what we need to do. As always, if you like what we are doing, please like, subscribe, and share this video with others who might be interested. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!